when discontinuing the dosage causes great suffering. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Dear God, we thank you so much for all that we have experienced during this conference this far. And I ask that your Holy Spirit be with me as I share this important message, Lord. May we be receptive to your voice and what you would have us to know, Lord, according to your will. Thank you so much. And please take full control in Jesus' name. Amen. There's a crisis brewing. Based on statistics from the World Health Mental Organization, approximately 20% of the world's children and adolescents are estimated to have mental disorders or problems. About 800,000 people commit suicide every year. And depression is ranked as the leading cause of disability worldwide. According to a report from one medical director, anxiety depression is the #1 mental illness in Trinidad and Tobago presently. More and more people are falling apart mentally, even in the church, and their situations are often considered hopeless. During the period October 2015 to September 2016, the total number of patients admitted at St. Anne's Psychiatric Hospital was 2,210. And the total number of patients attending its psychiatric outpatient clinics for the same period was 22,668. Wow. Now, all persons with psychiatric or psychological problems worldwide are regarded as having a chemical imbalance in the brain. Okay, this is the theory that is out there. Mental health experts reasoned that since patients have a chemical problem, they need to have chemical treatment, drug therapy. And millions of patients worldwide, millions, are administered drug therapy daily. And that appears to make sense because if you have a physical problem, such as an injury to your legs, you are given a physical treatment such as physiotherapy. If you have a spiritual problem such as demon possession, you are given a spiritual treatment such as prayer to exorcise demons, not so? The only problem with this reasoning is the origin of psychological problems. Most psychological problems are treated as organic or physical, as though something is wrong with the hardware of your brain, such as would be caused by an accident where there was severe trauma to the head. However, psychiatrists and psychologists, countless that I can't even mention, but for example, Timothy Jennings, Larry Crabb, David Kaiser, Pastor Philip Reed, and other mental health practitioners have found that the vast majority of persons who have psychological problems are not experiencing hardware dysfunctions, but soul wounds.
Love wounds.
Soul wounds or love wounds are the mental and emotional pains we experience when the disturbing emotions of anger, fear, guilt, shame, grief, helplessness, and hopelessness arrest the imagination, and we become anxious, depressed, suicidal, and more. We all have soul wounds. But based on how we manage them, which is further based on our unique personalities impacted by our childhood environments, then they can develop into pre-neurosis, neurosis, or psychosis. And we'll find more about those stages of psychological problems in the 1B manual, pages 30 to 32, right? In the Live Therapy chapter on drugs. You see, the mind and brain were created to function together based on the principle of unconditional love. The brain is the hardware, and the mind is the software. And God created it to function on love. And that love is not the fairy tale love that we see on TV or Netflix. That love is God's divine, unconditional love. And according to the APA Dictionary of Psychology, the brain is the enlarged anterior part of the central nervous system within the skull. And the mind, on the other hand, is the organized totality of an organism's mental and psychic processes and the structural and functional cognitive components on which they depend. Your brain is your communication center. Each nerve in the brain consists of a bundle of nerve cells called neurons. So, neurons are nerve cells are neurons, and each neuron has a cell body with extensions called dendrites at one end to bring information in, and the information then travels along an axon and leaves through axon terminals. So when you sing, clap, pray, remember something, feel hungry, electrical impulses are passing between the billions of neurons in your brain. But, amazingly, these impulses move in one direction, from dendrites to axon terminals. And some claim there's no God. Who but a powerful creator could be responsible for such precision? Now, check this out. The information passing from neuron to neuron in your brain must pass across a very small space called a synapse. I have highlighted it in red, and it's magnified in the box. A synapse is approximately 20 millionths of a millimeter.
Oh, glory to God.
20 millionths of a millimeter. A millimeter is about the length of a short fingernail. So let's try to fathom it. Think about if your fingernail could be divided into 10 parts, then think about 100 parts, 1,000 parts, 1,000,000 parts. This is 20 millionths of your fingernail is a synapse. And that synapse, in other words, that synapse or space in your brain is a
Only God knows the man.
You know when a man is cooking under his wife's directions and she's trying to describe to him, she has to step away for a minute, and she's trying to describe to him how much more salt to add to the food. And she says just a Well, the synapse is smaller than a It's a In fact, it's a Now, we used to sing a song at camp meetings long ago. There was a tree in the middle of the woods, the prettiest tree that you ever did see. And the green grass grew all around, and the green grass grew all around. And the song went on to name all the different parts. And on that tree, there was a branch. And then it went on, and on that branch, there was a nest. And it went to a part, and the tree in the woods, and the nest on the tree, and the tree in the woods, and the green grass grew all around. And it kept going on. And then it said in that nest there was a bird, on that bird there was a feather, on that feather there was a speck, on that speck there was a on that there was a on that there was a Well, the synapse is a And between this in your brain, information flows. So while you are listening to me, you can be reading the manual. You can be hugging your wife if she's feeling cold, thinking about lunch that's coming soon. Just information flowing back and forth between the in your brain. What a mighty God we serve.
Man is wonderfully and marvelous.
God is master of using tiny apparatus for magnificent achievements. That is why he loves using you and me. So whenever you hear synapse, think about that tiny space in your brain, nerve cells, your Now, how does information cross the synapse? Electrical impulses cause neurons to release chemical messengers known as neurotransmitters. And when stimulated, the neurotransmitter travels across the synapse to a specialized site on the receiving neuron called the receptor. And remember the size of the synapse, right? Scientists have discovered over 100 types of neurotransmitters. Now let's take a closer look at 3 of them: epinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine. Epinephrine, otherwise known as adrenaline, is responsible for the fight or flight response when we experience emotions such as anger, fear, excitement, and surprise. So if, for example, you're walking in your yard and you spot a snake, a woman might take flight and a man might stand and fight, hopefully. Both are actions of both are actions of adrenaline. And what about serotonin? This is the neurotransmitter responsible for happiness. For example, when you get a raise in pay, serotonin flows. Then when you hear the budget and visit the gas station, serotonin drops because you realize your entire raise will go in gas. Another neurotransmitter, dopamine, is responsible for feelings of pleasure, such as you might experience when eating some delicious, juicy grapes. God is so loving and kind, he made dopamine so that functions critical to our existence, such as eating, don't have to be boring. Eating is necessary, but it is also enjoyable. And what about the act of procreation? God could have let married people have children just by entering information into a computer. And here the computer's response, make one child coming out. But no, God gave us the gift of sex so that procreation would be enjoyable. God is something else. We owe him such a debt of gratitude for his ingenuity and for the neurotransmitter dopamine. The actions of epinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine are all natural chemical reactions which God has placed within man. We should be praising him all the time, for we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Although chemical imbalances in the brain seem to have an association with mood disorders and mental health conditions, researchers have not proven that chemical imbalances are the initial cause of these conditions. While some studies have identified links between distinct chemical imbalances and specific mental health conditions, researchers do not know how people develop these chemical imbalances in the first place. And current biological testing also cannot reliably verify a mental health condition even. Doctors do not, therefore, diagnose mental health conditions by testing for chemical imbalances in the brain. Instead, they make a diagnosis based on a person's symptoms and the findings of a physical examination. Researchers have not proven that chemical imbalances cause mental illness. Researchers do not know how people develop chemical imbalances in the first place. Current biological testing cannot reliably verify a mental health condition. So what happens when you use these drugs for mental illness? They block the axon terminals in your brain so that reuptake cannot occur. I don't think I explained to you the different ways that the neurotransmitters are removed from the brain. So sometimes they are diffused and disappear. That's how God designed them to do. Sometimes they are reuptaken. There are two others that I can't remember right now. But this is how God designed it to happen. Now, when neurotransmitters, when neurotransmitters are released, right, God designed them, so diffusion, deactivation, which is they are destroyed totally, removal by special cells called glial cells, and reuptake into the axon terminal where they are released. So when you take a drug such as cocaine, your brain begins to release dopamine. And when dopamine is released into the synapse, it is suppressed to be reuptaken. But the cocaine blocks the reuptake. So you see the little yellow triangles blocking the terminals. And that causes more dopamine to remain in the synapse for a longer period of time, which is what intensifies the high, the feelings of pleasure. To experience a major high, you are super excited and ready to climb the walls like Spider-Man. And even drugs prescribed for physical illness work to stimulate or suppress the actions of nerve cells in your brain. These drugs act on both your central and peripheral nervous system, affecting your mood and behavior and causing a host of physical ailments. And scientists like B.F. Skinner said that one day science could and should control human behavior. A man is saying that. And causing a host of physical ailments, such as the long list of side effects we hear them reading on TV. And worse yet, after long-term use of even medicinal drugs, you cannot stop using them suddenly without endangering your life. A medical doctor was explaining to me how, for example, when you start on high blood pressure medication, depending on how long you have been on it, you cannot stop suddenly because of what happens in the brain, because of what that drug has been doing to your system. You cannot stop suddenly, except a divine intervention and miracle from God. And long-term high dosage use of pharmaceuticals can bring on a disease known as tardive dyskinesia. You ever saw people walking and they kind of, like their head just shaking, and they can't control it? Check back. Just do your little private investigation and see if these people are on any kind of long-term medication. So tardive dyskinesia causes the tongue out movement that you can't control, sudden jerking movements of the face and head that you cannot control from long-term high dosage use of drug medication. As Ellen White states in the book Spiritual Gifts, Volume 4, the endless variety of medicines in the market kill hundreds where they benefit one. So you go on the drug, you go on the psychiatric drug or whatever drug, you remain on it for months and years, you get side effects, you develop other diseases, and then you die. And you are told that the drug manages the condition so that you live for however long until you die, but an unhappy, sick death. The endless variety of medicines in the market kill hundreds where they benefit one. Drugs never cure the disease. They only change the form and location. Nature alone is the effectual restorer. And how much better could she perform her task if left to herself? Did you know that many of the drugs that are prescribed for mental illnesses are also sold on the street under the same or different names? For example, methylphenidate or Ritalin is given to children for ADHD, but it's also a street drug. On the street, it's called Rids, pineapple, uppers, vitamin R, or Arbol. Imagine your child cannot sit still in class and can't focus on fractions because their father is absent from home or their father just beat up their mother or their mother even is on drugs.
That's why he gave lift.
Amen. And instead of giving them some TLC, you want to give them drugs for ADHD. All psychiatric medicines have dangerous side effects. Dr. Blake Tracy, who holds a PhD in psychology and health science and has specialized for over 10 years in adverse reactions to psychiatric drugs, has compiled a list of 58 side effects of these drugs. More and more psychologists and psychiatrists are doing research and discovering the damaging effects of psychiatric medications: rash, lung problems, heart fluttering, shaking, blurred vision, memory impairment, hair loss, headaches, cravings, swelling in joints, and the list goes on and on. Imagine you want to cry and you can't cry because you were on long-term drug medication. And when you begin taking them, as I said before, you cannot stop suddenly. It is dangerous to start taking psychiatric medication, and it is dangerous to stop. When you're feeling depressed because your family member died, or suicidal because you were sexually abused as a child, you don't need drug therapy, you need life therapy. You need unconditional love. But scientists, unfortunately, will forever promote drugs because the pharmaceutical industry is a multi-billion-dollar business. These drugs only treat symptoms. Love addresses cause. Did you know there are studies that show that love actually heals? A Swedish study reported that the give and take of marriage or cohabiting with a partner may help ward off mental decline in old age. Another study on marriage and health. So, Pastor, you have to get a husband for me. Sorry, that was a mistake. Another study on marriage and health from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported that married people consult doctors less frequently, have shorter hospital stays, and are less likely to be admitted to a nursing home than unmarried people. And live therapy can teach us how to be happily married. Amen? Unconditional love. Studies from the Preventative Medicine Research Institute in California involving 10,000 married men showed that those who felt loved by their wives experienced half the chest pains as men who felt their wives did not show them love. Now, the Bible tells us in Acts 20:35 that it is more blessed to give than to receive. So men, if receiving love from your wife causes less chest pains and it is more blessed to give than to receive, can you imagine what showing love to your wife will cause? Man, chest pain, neck pain, back pain, groin pain, prostate pain, kidney pain, health pain. All your aches and pains will disappear. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Wives, you can cause your husbands to have less chest pains. Treat them like kings. Stop nagging them. Don't try to change them. Pray for them. And if you know they love to shout and carry on, keep a bottle of water on hand. As they start to quarrel, drink water. So your mouth will be full and you won't be able to answer. Brethren, when we live loving lives, we experience better health. And this is not only for married couples. A study from the University of Iowa reveals that love helps fight cancer. The study found that ovarian cancer patients with a strong sense of connection to others and satisfying relationships had more vigorous natural killer cell activity at the site of their tumors than those who didn't have those social ties. That's according to Dr. Vernon Coleman. And according to Stephen Post, PhD, professor of bioethics and religion at Ohio's Case Western University, loving acts neutralize the kind of negative emotions that adversely affect immune, endocrine, and cardiovascular function. Wow. Loving acts neutralize those negative emotions. You see, the brain was created to respond to a certain quality of thinking, love, and relationships. The mind was not created for mistreatment and abuse. When we communicate unconditional love in our relationships, the mind functions at its optimum level. And this state of mind affects our bodies and our physical and mental health. And another study shows that love slows the aging process. The hormone DHEA, or dihydroepiandrosterone, which produces feelings of youth and vitality, is greatly affected by active demonstrations of love. And listen to the study was carried out on the employees of Unilever, a multinational corporation, and it revealed that those who did loving acts of kindness for a period of 6 months, after DHEA was increased by 50%, and for a period of 9 months, DHEA was increased by 90%. And according...
One second. Forgive me. It was a violation of the principle of love that reduced the possibility of us, or the fact of us, living eternally, as opposed to 90 years, 80 years, 60 years, 40 years. Love. The more you love, the longer you live.
Amen.
At 75, I feel like 18.
Amen. Amen. Praise the Lord. And according to the Institute for Research on Unlimited Love, yes, there is such an institute, selfless love reduces stress, reduced stress increases our immunity, and increased immunity extends our lifespans by improving our mental health states, including reducing depression. We have to give unconditional love, love till it hurts. Further, Ellen McGrath, one of America's outstanding psychologists and the author of 5 books on stress and depression management, believes that love is the best antidepressant. She believes that feeling unloved is one of the most common sources of depression, that most depressed people are very self-focused, very self-focused, don't love themselves, and don't feel loved by others. And love is a learned skill which can be developed by focusing on and helping others. All right, and this is what lift therapy teaches us, that as children, we are designed to receive love, but as adults, we are designed to give love as we receive it from Christ.
When we don't have it from children, we can't give it as adults. It's a setup.
So this is why we need lift therapy. This is why lift therapy is so important. Love, inspiration, and faith therapy. So we learn how to give it, because many times we think we are loving, but we're not. We are not.
Well, let me say this here. One writer says, and I share it too, when we are not loved from children, because love is a need, when we are denied or deprived love as children, we have no choice, absolutely no choice, but to go through life as adults seeking for love. And many of us sisters seek for it in the wrong places. And then we label them. Before I die, I'm going to ask God for the opportunity to remove the stigma from people who were damaged, and now people see them as being something else. The stigma is wrongly placed. Those narcissists who ain't going St. Anne's, who ain't going for counseling, can't love their wives. I'll talk about narcissism as we go along. I have all here, folks, all of them, schizophrenia, those men who control their wives, keep all the money in their pocket. We just scratch the surface, you know. Women cry every day in the church. Elders and pastors, those men who love church members more than their own.
Mercy.
And the church rating them the best pastor in the world. But home they're grumpy, giving their wife no sex. Oh, Lord Father. We in a mess. Love is a need.
Pastor, you mean beating the wife and then expecting sex?
How you mean? I marry a couple, and for 6 months the man couldn't get sex from his wife. Why? She was abused by her stepfather. Small house. He used to beat her mother. And when night comes, this little girl, hear this abusive stepfather having sex with her mother. She was fearful to be penetrated. Well, the man got you, said, Pastor, I can't make it 6 months. I say, oh, hang in there, brother. Boy, we in a mess. We in a mess. Lift therapy came from God, folks. Not me. Just using me a little fry. We in a mess. We in a mess. This brain of us, no man understands this brain. Hence, man can't fix it. Drugs isn't of God, of the devil. It's a money-making scam. Give me some money now. Go on TV and radio. I'll tell you, I'm ready for that.
It's okay.
Don't forget I'm 75.
What is love really? One definition of love: love is the willingness to endure any level of suffering and discomfort, and to forego any level of personal gain or happiness for the benefit of one's own mental, emotional, and spiritual growth, and that of others. That is love. That is love. This is the kind of love that will heal us mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And the only way we can have this love is to change the way we think. Amen. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. Amen. When you decide as Christians you are not required to restrain your thoughts and feelings and are brought under the influence of evil angels, you are brought under the influence of evil angels and invite their control and presence. Wow. If you yield to your impressions and allow your thoughts to run in a channel of suspicion, doubt, repining, self-pity, and evil surmising, you will be among the most unhappy of mortals, and your life will prove a failure. Many of us as Christians, we love to doubt. We love to be suspicious. We love to pity ourselves. Suppose Jesus had done that when he came to this earth. He had the most reason to pity himself because of the bad treatment people were giving him. Suppose he had said, God, I don't know why you sent me here, about these good-for-nothing sinners, What would have been our position? You will be among the most unhappy of mortals, and your life will prove a failure. But if you learn unconditional love, and this is a practical example in Isaiah 58, 11. Share your food with the hungry and open your homes to the homeless poor. Give clothes to those who have nothing to wear, not the clothes with the deodorant stains. Give clothes to those who have nothing to wear, and do not refuse to help your own relatives.
Not a handout, but a hand up.
Amen, amen. Not a hand out, but a hand up. That is welfare. Then my favor will shine on you like the morning sun, and your wounds will be quickly healed. Your physical wounds and your soul wounds. If you put an end to oppression, to every gesture of contempt, and to every evil word, I will keep you strong and well. You will be like a garden that has plenty of water, like a spring of water that never goes dry. Every ray of light shed upon others will be reflected upon our own hearts. Every kind and sympathizing word spoken to your child when they did the wrong thing, when they made a little mistake because they are only 2 years old or 5 years old or 10 years old. Every kind and sympathetic word spoken to the sorrowful. Every act to relieve the oppressed. And every gift to supply the necessities of our fellow beings, given or done with an eye to God's glory, will result in blessings to the giver. Those who are thus working are obeying a law of heaven and will receive the approval of God. Stamp of approval. Stamp of approval. The pleasure of doing good to others imparts a glow to the feelings which flashes through the nerves, quickens the circulation of the blood, and induces mental and physical health. It is an actual scientific process that takes place in your body when you give unconditional love.
Hallelujah.
And the side effects are health, youthfulness, and vitality. So instead of using drug therapy for psychological problems and mental illness, try lift therapy. And I'd like you to turn to page 39 in your 1B manual if you have it, please. Page 39 in your 1B manual. And those on my left, when I point to you, you will read the side effects. And when I point to those on this side, you will read the side effect of lift therapy. So we're going drug therapy, lift therapy, drug therapy, lift therapy. So drug therapy produces harmful side effects. Love therapy produces fruitful side effects. Let's go again. First one, drug therapy produces harmful side effects, and lift therapy. All right, so we see there. What do you want, the harmful side effects or the fruitful side effects? Next, love therapy, drug therapy, live therapy, praise the Lord. No more dependence, no more addictions. Instead, we can have independence and maturity. Next one, drug therapy and live therapy. Praise the Lord. Right, so we don't have to focus on looking for love in all the wrong places. Instead, our thoughts and our lifestyle is changed. And as Pastor was saying, that's why the medical missionary works together with it. As Leanza was pointing out to us yesterday, so many things happen in our lives when we use sunshine, water, and so on. Drug therapy, live therapy, praise the Lord. Let's repeat that one. Drug therapy, and it usually does. The longer a person who is mentally ill, psychologically ill, stays on drugs, the sicker they get mentally. But live therapy, progressive mental health. And the last one, drug therapy, so we saw that when we saw what happens with people such as Tardive Dyskinesia and so on. When you try to stop, you cannot stop suddenly. And live therapy causes great suffering when any attempt is made to discontinue. So you see that? So you see that? Drug therapy causes great suffering when any attempt is made to discontinue the dosage. And love therapy causes great suffering when any attempt is made to discontinue the dosage. Let us try an unconditional